And now, from approximately coast to coast, it's the Bob and Ray Public Radio Show. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we have Paul Talman with us again and Al Schaefer over at the sound truck. We're all set to go. And we want to welcome you, first of all, here to the Bob and Ray Beg Your Pardon show. Now, as serious news gatherers and reporters, we're prone to mistakes, and unfortunately, we did it again. It was reported at this very microphone some time ago that a Mr. Hewlett Tuckering was responsible for the disappearance of a Miss Daisy Merge. Now, what we neglected to say was that Mr. Tuckering was a magician, and Miss Merge was his assistant. Mr. Hewlett Tuckering, we're awfully sorry.
That's all right. Forget it.
What happened after the kidnapping charges had been lodged against you as a result of our disclosure here at this microphone?
Oh, well, the usual. I got 10 years in jail. I felt that I didn't deserve the sentence, but you can't fight City Hall.
Gosh, we are sorry.
Don't be apologetic. You'll become ill if you do. Anyway, it was more Daisy Merge's fault than yours, actually.
Well, what did she do?
Well, we were appearing at this theater in Youngstown, and generally I'd close the act by putting Daisy in the disappearing cabinet. The idea was that she'd fall into the cellar, and I'd meet her after the show, and we'd go out for a bite.
Didn't she meet you for a bite?
Well, I found out later that she met the janitor of the theater down in the cellar there, and I guess they kind of liked each other, and they both went off to Pittsburgh.
And, of course, you didn't know that at the time.
No, I thought she disappeared. There's a lot I don't know about magic.
Well, we thought she disappeared, too. Now, of course, that's what we reported here at this microphone.
Well, don't fret about it. You see how easy it is to make a mistake? Anybody can do it.
Okay, well, now, after you started your jail sentence, why didn't Daisy Merge step forward and admit that she hadn't disappeared?
Well, she did, actually. She came to the prison one day dressed as an old lady selling apples, and she said she'd admit she hadn't disappeared if I gave her $5. I didn't have it.
That's a shame.
It was. She needed the money badly. Her husband, the janitor, was suffering from a dread malady caused by flies.
Uh-huh. Well, that is disheartening. But you were suffering in that jail, too, weren't you?
Well, it's not too bad if you get a good cell. Mine was under a furnace.
And I guess no one believed you when you told them that you were innocent.
I protested for a while, but I soon stopped that when they poured hot lead on my elbow.
This is really terrible. I feel awful about all this.
Cut it out. You left me crying.
Well, now, what happened after you got out of prison?
Well, the Magicians' Union had taken my card away from me, of course, so I slept in the streets for about 3 months.
And then what happened?
I got sick from sleeping in the streets. You know, there's a way to sleep in the streets safely. Got to stay away from where the water runs down the sewer. I was too weak to do that.
Gosh, that's awful. We're so sorry for reporting you, really.
Stop apologizing. I straightened out eventually. There was this very nice guy, a CPA, who decided he'd take a chance on an ex-con, and he gave me a job sweeping his office.
Well, that's good. And is that where you're working now?
No, he emptied out the safe last night, and I believe the police are looking for me.
Well, Mr. Tuckering, we're not going to report you this time, so how's that for being good sports?
That's swell. And about the first mistake, relax. It could have happened to anybody. You'll find that's why they put erasers on pencils.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Tuckering, and thanks again for being with us today. And folks, be with us again when we try to cover up another one of our many mistakes. Now, here's a word of warning for the makers of Einbinder flypaper. Friends, have you noticed the ominous sign of spring that are appearing all around you? Daffodils are in bloom in many parts of the country, and there's also evidence that trees are starting to bud.
Perhaps never before has it been so frighteningly clear that summer is almost upon us. You must face the fact that hordes of flies will soon be buzzing around your head and those of your loved ones. But there is still time to head off disaster if you act quickly and rush to your flypaper dealer Spend whatever you can afford on genuine Einbinder flypaper.
It could be the one thing that will get you through this summer alive while others perish. But make certain you don't settle for anything less than Einbinder, the flypaper you've gradually grown to trust over the course of 3 generations.
And hi there, sports fans. This is your eyes and ears of the press box, Biff Burns, coming your way from Mike's side with another Biff Burns Sports Room guest. Highlights and sidelights from the world of sports, and my special guest today is Roy Yelvington. According to the dope sheet you sent me, you're better known to the fans and your fellow players as Little Lightning.
That's right, Biff. I've been, never too big, but I'm extremely fast. So the name has kind of stuck with me since early in my career. Fans and my fellow players have always called me Little Lightning.
Yeah, you go into all that in this dope sheet you sent me, Roy, but I notice you failed to mention what sport it is you compete in.
I play Ring Around the Rosie, Biff. And I'm in town all this week, beating the drum for the sport and trying to whip up some interest in the New York Fallers.
Well, I assumed you were here to beat the drum and try to whip up interest in something, so just to get the discussion started, what or who are the New York Fallers?
Well, that's the professional Ring Around the Rosie team that will be opening its inaugural season at Shea Stadium next month. See, I'm the player-manager of the squad. I might also mention that season ticket sales have begun at a considerable discount from what you'll have to pay at the box office later on.
Well, even at a considerable discount, Roy, do you think there's really much spectator appeal to a game like Ring Around the Rosie?
Well, Biff, we're planning some big halftime shows featuring drum majorettes from high schools as far away as Rhode Island. And we're also going to give the fans a break by selling hot dogs for a quarter.
Well, even with drum majorettes from Rhode Island and cheap hot dogs, do you think there's much spectator appeal to the game, Roy?
Well, 5 guys from each side take to the field, and we skip around in a circle, see? And then we get to the real highlight of the thing. The players join together in singing, Ring Around the Rosie, a pocket full of posy, ashes, ashes, all fall down. Now, we may have Barbra Streisand record the song so we can play it over the public address system.
Well, Roy, even if you get Barbara to record the song, do you think there's much spectator appeal to the game? That's what I want to get down to.
Well, there'll be a lot of fights among the players, too, Biff. You see, after the guys sing that part about all fall down, then they all fall down. And the last one down loses. But, of course, we'll have plenty of arguments on that point.
Sure.
And I think you can look for a Pier 6 brawl in just about every game. That's what we're hoping for.
Having fights get out of control could be entertaining, Roy, but even so, do you think there's much spectator appeal to the game?
Did I tell you we're going to sell hot dogs for a quarter?
Yeah. I think you told me just about everything I want to know, except whether you think the game has much spectator appeal.
Well, I'm not sure, Biff. I'm certainly beating the drum for it and trying to whip up some interest, but I think Ring Around the Rosie has got quite a few things going against it. Now, the recent public opinion poll shows that we could have expected bigger crowds for team javelin throwing or Little League skateboard races, among other things.
It's as bad as that, huh?
Yeah, of course, we're hoping that the drum majorettes and cheap hot dogs and the Barbra Streisand recording will help some, but in this recent poll, only 0.2% of those interviewed said they'd pay to watch grown men play Ring Around the Rosie.
Yeah, that's what the poll indicates, and why are you starting up a professional Ring Around the Rosie league, Roy?
Well, to tell you the truth, Biff, Ring Around the Rosie was the only sport I was good at when I was a kid, so I figured I'd like to play professionally, and make a lot of money at it. Now, all I have to do is find some rich guy to take over the New York franchise before he discovers that nobody will come to the games.
I see.
I mean, I really get miffed when I read about basketball players signing pro contracts for $2-3 million just because basketball is a popular sport. So I'm hoping to collect a fat bonus myself before this whole promotion of mine falls apart.
Well, now that you've explained your real motive to our vast radio audience, I imagine the whole promotion has already fallen apart. But thanks for stopping by to tell us about it anyway. And now this is Biff Burns saying until our next get-together in the sports room, this is Biff Burns saying so long, fans. I think it's with great pride now that we present the almost award-winning Bob and Ray Public Service feature, Speaking Out. It's the portion of the show where we invite you, the listening public, to phone in with your opinion on some controversial issue of the day.
Yeah, that's right, friends. Now, we're generously donating our nationwide broadcast facilities, not to mention our valuable airtime, just so you can exercise your freedom of speech. We think it's a truly wonderful thing we're doing here.
Indeed we do. So, to get your opinion heard from coast to coast, just call our nationwide toll-free number, 1-800...
excuse me there, Bob. We decided to have that toll-free phone yanked out.
Really?
Well,
I hadn't heard about that.
You weren't at the meeting there, but we found out it was going to cost quite a few dollars. And it just seemed that people ought to be willing to pay for their own calls, since we're generously giving them a chance to speak over the air.
Well, I tend to agree with that, but I assume we'll accept collect calls from the sick and elderly who truly can't afford to pay, huh?
No way. Well, you know how some clowns will give you a sad story just to save a few bucks, and since we have no way to check on them, they'll have to pay. I think we're being generous about it as it is.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So let's get those prepaid calls in here to 555-2368. And what's our area code?
I don't know. Let them look it up on the book themselves. God, can't these people do anything for themselves?
Yes, I guess.
What is this?
I guess they can. I just thought it might be nice if we gave them...
It seems to me that we're being more than generous, and these bums should be willing to make a little effort on their own. Well, not their babysitters.
No, I know that. Well, now the phone is lighting up, and apparently a listener took the trouble to find us. Could I have your name, please?
My name is G. George Unversaw, and I'm calling from Marshalltown, Iowa.
Marshalltown, Iowa. Good to hear from someone out there. I'm just curious, what does the G in G. George stand for?
It stands for George, too. My parents are really fond of the name.
Apparently. What controversial issue of the day would you like to give your opinion about, George?
Well, I think it's wrong to keep repeating that old adage that the quickest way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, kids hear that, and some of them go on to become doctors. And, they can do big damage with their heart surgery if they follow the old saying.
Well, I don't think we need to go into any graphic details. Was that the full opinion you wanted to state?
No, I also think Des Moines should have a Major League Baseball team.
I guess that ties in with your other thinking, and thanks for letting us know about it. Our other phone is lighting up here. Could I have your name, please?
I'm Mrs. Lottie Drover, and I live in that part of Montana where nobody ever goes.
I've read about your area, but I don't think I've ever been out there, Miss...
No, I'm sure you haven't. Nobody comes here.
You don't. What's the opinion you'd like to state, Miss Drover?
Well, it's my opinion that this phone seems to be working again. Now, it was knocked out when we had that big snow last fall, but I just dialed your number, and it sounds to me as if you answered.
Well, that certainly would lend weight to your opinion, so I thank you for sharing it with us. I think do we have time for just one more quick call here? What is your name, please?
I'm Raunchy Troxel, and I live in that little room upstairs over Baltimore.
Okay. What public issue would you like to discuss?
Well, it's my opinion that all of our congressmen are really communist spies, and the Wimbledon tennis matches are fixed, and Dan Rather speaks in a secret code that I expect to finish cracking next week.
Well, we're only looking for controversial opinion here, and I think the points you've raised have already been kicked around until we're tired of it. Hope you other listeners with something more original to say will phone next time when we present our public service feature, Speaking Out. And now welcome again to Garish Summit and its endless story of intrigue among the socially prominent. There in stately splendor, far removed from the squalid village below, they fight their petty battles over power and money. As our action begins, wealthy Dowager Agatha Murchfield is rearranging her rare butterfly collection in the family room. Suddenly, her weak-willed son, Rodney, enters, and Agatha speaks.
Come in and close the door, Rodney. I have something important to discuss with you.
I'd like to oblige, Mother, but there's no door in this room to close. If you'll notice, it's merely an archway of the English Tudor style with some scroll work above.
Oh, never mind. I know what it looks like. Just sit down.
Very well, Mother. Believe I can do that to your satisfaction.
Rodney, I called you here to discuss your fiancée, Pamela. As you may recall, she's been trapped in deep snow near the peak of Old Baldy ever since she was thrown from her horse last autumn.
Yes, I remember Pamela quite clearly. However, I've managed to lead a full social life during her absence, so it's all right.
Your social life is not my primary concern just now, Rodney. I've been checking on the rescue efforts from time to time with a forest ranger who's stationed on Old Baldy.
I wish you wouldn't do that, Mother. I read in a recent issue of a men's magazine that most forest rangers are gigolos, just waiting to strike up a friendship with a wealthy woman like yourself.
Well, I won't deny that Vance has invited me to his watchtower for a candlelight dinner if I'm ever up that way. However, my point here concerns Pamela. Vance tells me that she was rescued from the snowdrift 2 weeks ago, but mysteriously, she still hasn't arrived home.
Well, then I'm sure she's met with foul play, Mother. Otherwise, Pamela would have rushed to my waiting arms. I wonder if we'll ever learn the story surrounding her strange disappearance.
Excuse me, Mr. Pardue. Are you busy shuffling some important papers there?
No, it's nothing that can't wait, Caldwell. Come in and close the door.
There doesn't seem to be any door here. Just an archway connecting your office with that of your law partner, Faunce Willoughby.
Oh, right. Well, in that case, just sit down and tell me what I can do for you.
It's about my brother's fiancée, Pamela, who was trapped on Old Baldy when she took a fall from her horse last autumn. I hope she and Rodney hadn't signed any legal agreement concerning their wedding plans before she went away.
No, I believe Rodney gave her the world's largest diamond as an engagement gift, but that has no legal standing. Why do you ask?
Well, a funny thing happened. Pamela came to the door of the mansion a couple of weeks ago to tell us she'd been rescued from the snowdrift. So I invited her to have a sandwich and some booze over in the East Wing before we told Rodney the good news. And she liked it so well there that she stayed.
Are you saying that Pamela has been a guest in the East Wing of Murchfield Manor for 2 weeks, and Rodney doesn't know it?
Yes, and during our conversation, Pamela's decided she'd rather marry me, assuming there's no legal document to prevent it.
Well, it's not the legality that alarms me, Caldwell. I'm just afraid this might result in a scandal clouding the family name. I wonder if anyone else could possibly know that Pamela is a house guest in the East Wing of your home.
Well, I know what I saw, Wilfred. I was pruning the azaleas outside the East Wing, and I kept seeing this strange woman through the window.
Ah, extraordinary. What was she doing, Lloyd?
Mostly eating sandwiches that Mr. Caldwell kept bringing her. But then she spent hours just sitting in front of the fireplace. You know, almost like somebody who was trying to warm up after being trapped in a snowdrift all winter.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean, Lloyd. And thanks to your vivid description, I can guess who that mystery woman may be.
Will Rodney learn of Pamela's whereabouts in time to prevent her marriage to Caldwell? Can attorney Bowden Pardue arrange to transfer the ownership of Pamela's diamond ring? And why is Lloyd the gardener trimming the azaleas so early in the spring? Perhaps we'll learn more next time when we hear Vance, the ranger on Old Baldy, say,
"Only you can prevent forest fires."
That's next week when we resume our story of intrigue on Gary Summit. And now it's time for another story of drama and tense emotion. A tale well designed to keep you in anxiety. And here with us again to set the stage for our latest thriller is the noted lecturer and world traveler, Commander Neville Putney. Commander, I assume you've reached into your amazing file and brought forth another tale, well designed to keep us all in anxiety.
Yes, indeed, young man. Our factual account today concerns a ruggedly handsome young airline pilot named Roger Stamworth and his lovely stewardess, Betty Lou Hotchkiss. Roger and Betty Lou had been assigned to literally thousands of flights together, and all had been without incident. So they had no cause to believe that their next journey would bring them face to face with anxiety. For pilot and stewardess alike, the momentous day in question started out normally enough, but suddenly the air crackled with tension as Betty Lou called Roger away from his duties to relay a bit of horrifying news.
Roger, I'm afraid I have a bit of horrifying news to relay. There's a man on board with a gun, and he's threatening bloodshed unless we change course and head for a distant foreign land.
Egad, Betty Lou, you trying to say this craft has been hijacked?
Well, all the elements of a hijacking certainly seem to be there, Roger. There's the gun, the threat of violence, the wild look in the man's eye. That's a hijacking in my book.
Oh, egad, Betty Lou, I've always feared a moment like this, but by good fortune, my plan for handling the situation is already formulated. I'll simply overpower the ruffian and take his gun away from him.
Well, I'm not sure that that's such a hot idea, Roger. Suppose you should both be shot in the scuffle. Who'd bring this craft in safely? I certainly wouldn't know how.
Then I'm afraid you'd have to learn quickly, Betty Lou. Just get on the radio with a mayday call and ask for instructions. Someone will come on the line and guide you in.
Well, I'm not convinced that would work. I'm all thumbs with mechanical things. Besides, if I took over, that would mean you were already dead, and I find that upsetting. We've meant quite a lot to each other over the years, Roger.
Betty Lou, this is no time to think of ourselves and the dreams we had for the future. Even if we go along with this maniac and head for a distant foreign land, there's no assurance we'll come out alive. This way, there's some hope for you, regardless of my own personal fate.
Well, I suppose it does have that advantage, and I want you to know one thing, Roger. I'll remember your heroism for the rest of my life. And I only hope it's a longer life than I'm looking forward to right now. Good luck. I'm putting my fate in your hands.
Well, there. How about that for a moment fraught with high drama, young man?
Boy, that was a story filled with plenty of anxiety, all right, Commander.
It certainly was.
But tell us how it came out. Was Betty Lou able to fly the plane while Roger grappled with the hijacker?
Oh, they weren't aboard a plane, young man. I don't know where you got that foolish idea. I thought I made it quite clear that the action all took place in a taxi en route to the airport.
Commander, how could you possibly think you'd made that clear? It was a story about a pilot and a stewardess encountering a hijacker. Things like that happen only on airplanes. Where would a hijacker suddenly come from inside a taxi cab?
Well, he didn't suddenly come from anywhere. He was the driver who'd been there all the time. It wasn't until he brandished his weapon that Roger and Betty Lou had reason to be fearful. But as luck would have it, the driver had to stop for a traffic light. That was when Roger disarmed him quite easily.
I see. So in other words, this is just another one of those dumb, pointless stories that you make up, right?
Cheeky young bounder. How dare you speak out to an officer of my rank? I was formerly a commander in Her Majesty's service.
Well, you may have dreamed that up, too, for all I know.
Well, that will be quite enough of that. Now, read the closing announcement before I see to it that you're cashiered.
Well, this coffee is sure going to sound ridiculous after what we've just been through, but
I'll just read it.
I don't suppose anything can make me feel more foolish than I already do. So here goes. Well, friends, be sure to join us next time when Commander Putney will again reach into his amazing file and bring forth a tale well designed to keep you in anxiety.
And so once again, we've gotten word that time's up for another Bob and Ray public radio show.
And that word comes from Larry Josephson, who produces the program for the Radio Foundation.
Marjorie Van Halderen was associate producer. Paul Tauman provided the music. Technical director Malcolm Addy.
Sound effects were by Al Schaefer, who's never once regretted giving up a promising career in upholstering.
Our engineers were Mike Moran and Joe Lopes. Production assistants Diana Freed and Stuart Zagnett.
Funding for the program by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Through NPR's Satellite Program Development Fund.
And now this is Ray Goulding reminding you to write if you get work.
Bob Elliott reminding you to hang by your thumbs. Thank you.
For a free picture of Bob and Ray, send a stamped, self-addressed envelope to Bob and Ray Picture, Box 5000, GPO, New York 10116. That's Bob and Ray Picture, Box 5000, GPO, New York 10116.
Thank you.